check in on mom here and calf. This was the calf that is having a hard time eating on his own. We kind of assisted him with mom. Mom stood in the head chute, and we assisted calf by helping him get up under the udder and help him nurse on his own. Thank goodness it was a success. It went very easy. So I'm just going to kind of walk through what we did and why, and then why these guys are still in the barn while all the other cow-calf pairs are out in the corn stalks outside. So to walk us through kind of the situation and backstory and give you a little context in how we got here and why we made the decisions we did, this calf here, see his little white face, he was born a couple of days ago outside. Outside isn't an ideal place for them to calve. We try to get them in the barn before they are born, to kind of keep a closer eye and monitoring them, making sure mom is thriving and calf is thriving. We do an okay job keeping tabs outside, but it's really muddy out there. We prefer to get them in here and calve them out in here until they're strong enough, their immune system's really solid, before we send them outside. In that calf being outside at birth, we processed it, checked his temperature. Things looked to be good. We gave him the supplements that we wouldn't give at a normal processing, and just knew to keep a close eye since he was born kind of where it was muddy out. He was having some signs of distress. So he was arched into his back here and like hunched up like this a lot today. So Bill was keeping an eye out on him, and usually when they're doing that, there's something going on, that their gut's not feeling right. So Bill wasn't quite sure what was going on. So he took his temperature, hit a lower temperature. So we definitely knew something was going on. We brought him into the barn. Bill tried giving this calf some colostrum replacer that we have up at the house to see if he would eat. If he didn't eat, that maybe would give us some other alternative signs. Or if he maybe just hadn't eaten yet, that could be a problem. So he ate the whole colostrum bottle in one sitting, didn't have any issues with it, which tells us he was hungry and not getting what he needs for food. Whether that is a mom udder issue or the calf was just struggling to figure out how to eat, we weren't sure. So we brought him into the barn, got mom into the head chute. Luckily she is a old pro, she knows exactly what's going on. We checked out her udder to see if there's any like indications of an infection. So we actually cleaned and milked each of the teats to see if there's any clogs, to say that there was mastitis that would be making this guy sick. If the calves are eating mastitis, milk that has like that infection in it, that could get them really sick, which would make sense why he wasn't feeling good. So we cleaned them all up. They obviously, you can tell, were out in the mud. They didn't get into the barn before birth. So we brought them in, got it milked out. The reason we started with feed first, that milk replacer first, is to see if the calf was willing to eat or not willing to eat, because that would really affect how we treated this calf. If the calf is willing to eat, hungry, really vigorous on eating, that tells us that either the calf's behavior, like he can't figure out how to nurse on his own, or there's something wrong with mom's udder. And those would be the two routes or two areas that we would need to check in next. If the calf didn't eat at all, we would be more in triage mode of, okay, the calf's not eating, that's not a good sign. We're gonna be headed towards dehydration if we don't start getting this calf the nutrients it needs. So let's address that first and address the cause of this calf not eating. Very different route than if the calf was willing to nurse. So that was kind of our first test, our first hypothesis, I guess, is to figure out which way are we gonna treat this calf. This calf was really interested in eating, ate the whole bottle of colostrum replacer. That tells us that, okay, we're willing to eat. We maybe don't feel good, but we can address that later. We don't have to triage immediately. So we brought mom and calf into the barn. Calf is already hanging out in here. We brought mom in and put her in the head chute. So when we got her in the head chute, we inspected her udder first. So first check off the list is to see, is something wrong with mom's milk that's making the calf sick? Cows can get mastitis. People get mastitis too when they're breastfeeding. Cows will get mastitis, which is an infection in their udder. The cow's udder is broken into 4 sections. So, and there's a teat for each section. what can happen is a cow will get an infection in a quarter or multiple quarters, and it will block up that quarter and make it hard to nurse. It could be really swollen and the cow's really uncomfortable and will kick that calf away with her back leg because it hurts and she doesn't want the calf to nurse. It could make the calf sick if it does nurse. We needed to figure out if that was the case. So locked her in the head chute and we milked out her teats to see if there was any clogging in that teat, to see if there was an infection. So we squeezed out those udders and nothing to raise any red flags or concerns. The milk flowed out just fine. It was maybe a little bit crusty from the mud. If there are udders in the mud, that can be an issue. So cleaned off her teats and got ready to see if the calf would nurse on her udder. Some calves just behaviorally aren't quite figuring out how to nurse on their own and they need a little more assistance than others. It's not a great trait that we want to see in a lot of calves, but it does happen. So once we eliminated that the cow was sick and that we needed to address that first, and that mom that has an issue is causing issues with that calf, we moved on to the next step was let's see if we can get that behavior, that nursing instinct kicked in with this calf because we knew he was willing to eat. So we got that calf up there and got that calf nursing. He's still going at it, which is great.
I just don't know if you got anything to start. That's the only problem.
Yeah, he might have a hard time with, if he didn't, with his immune system now, but we're not going to know that for a little while. I'm going to see if I can get him on this other teat. So he's obviously cleaned that quarter out. Okay. Hey, buddy, can you get to this other one? Come on, bring your head down. Come here. No, this way. There you go. You're so close. There. Oh, come on. So close. Forward. Forward. There you go. Good job, buddy. That's a good boy. I'll go and clean those other teats on the other side. She's doing a really good job feeding. I wasn't sure how she was doing. Good job, Mama. Do I smell like your baby? Yeah. Please don't kick me in the head. Ooh, that was really hard. Christina. She is standing so good. You're doing such a good job, honey. Yeah. Yeah, it's okay. Are you lost again, bud? You're lost, aren't you? You lost it, huh? You just don't know where it goes and you can't find it. So close. So close. Come on. Come on. Yep. There you go. That's it.
I can see like 3 of these.
especially since you stirred him up.
It's 7801 and that's 1707.
That was a fresh one, Ma. Are they all milked out on this side too? Do we need to go to the other side? Are you still hungry or are you about done?
He doesn't have a hunch in his back maybe.
No. Good
I don't
job.
know how to get that slop out of there. That's the biggest. I just don't think they had enough moisture last fall to settle it. I can pound it with stock it is and just get it pushed in there.
I know. Well, this is. You getting anything out of that quarter anymore? I'm getting him nursing on my finger. He's got a little bit of a suckle reflex. And I'm just gonna kind of guide him up to the udder and see if I can feed his mouth onto the teat. He might be too full and not interested again, but we're gonna give it a shot. Come here. Come on. Want any more? So sometimes just spraying their mouths will they'll get that taste in their mouth, be like, oh, I am hungry. He doesn't seem super interested in eating like he did before. He's not really suckling on my hand anymore, so he might not be hungry. At least he's going into the right spot, so it's a good sign. He looks a lot more full than he did before. Mom's really responding super great. So you kind of saw a little bit of a clip of me kind of getting that calf up there, what that looks like up close. After we got her comfortable, him nursing, we're gonna keep a close eye on them. The reason we want to do that is because this calf needed assistance. We're hoping he doesn't need assistance again, but if he does, we're gonna need to bring Mom back in the head chute and get that calf going again. Again, we hope this is a short-term solution. We really want calf to be nursing independently. If that calf can't nurse independently, we'll have a couple of different choices or options. We either continue to put them in the head chute and coach that calf and see if it gets better, or we just pull him off of Mom completely and just do a bottle directly. It not only saves us that labor, but it also ensures that that calf is getting regular and consistent feeds, and we can be tracking how much he is ingesting and supplementing as needed. So maybe he's not eating a full 2 quarts of milk, which is on average minimally what they should be eating in a feed. When we do bottle feed, we can go up to 3 quarts at times. Making sure his intake is correct, no different than a human being. If Mom is nursing a human and we're not really sure why that baby's not gaining weight, we might be supplementing with a bottle. It's no different than for cows as well. So if this calf can't nurse independently, or we really are struggling to make sure he is getting fed regularly, we'll pull him off and make sure that we're tracking that with a formula feed. Essentially, we have what we call milk replacer that will be assisting feeding that calf with. The other piece that we have to be considering is there may be an infection that's causing him not to feel well and not wanting to eat. We have to keep our eye out for that, especially knowing he was born in a really muddy area. Mom's udder was covered in mud and manure. There may be some other factors going on that is causing this calf not to feel well and not to be independently feeding. So they're in the barn here. We'll keep close eye. We'll be checking in morning, in the evening, and in the middle of the day, hopefully, to see if we can catch him independently nursing on his own. Right now, he is hanging out over here. That bar is kind of in the way, but he is taking a nap. He's probably tuckered out. We had to walk him a good ways to get him up in the barn, and we had to manhandle him a little bit. So he's tired. We'll keep a close eye on him. Calves will nurse as needed, but usually overnight they won't be nursing. So let him be tuckered out, get some rest, and then in the morning we'll come check, and fingers crossed we kind of wiggle and shake him up a little bit and he goes into Mom and nurses on his own. So that's what's going on with that calf.